Picture you are at a dealership. You have decided on the car. A friendly salesperson sits down across from you and asks the most reasonable question. Are you looking to buy, or would you like to lease? You suddenly realize you have never actually thought about this carefully. You know leasing exists. You know buying exists. You have a vague sense that leasing is better for some people, but not sure if you're one of them. But the actual mechanics, how each one works, what you truly end up paying, what you actually own at the end, you have no clue. So you say something like, what do most people do? Which is not the same as asking what makes the most sense for your specific situation. And the answer you get, honestly, will be whatever makes the most money for the dealership or salesperson. Today, we are answering the question you should have had answered before you ever walked into that showroom. Buying versus leasing, what each one actually is, what each one actually costs, who each one is actually right for, and what the data says about the smarter long-term choice for most people. No jargons. Just the math plainly laid out so you can make this decision with your eyes open. Let's start with leasing, because it is the less familiar of the two options and the one most people understand least clearly. When you lease a car, you are not buying it. You are renting it for a fixed period, typically 24, 36, or 48 months, and agreeing to return it at the end of that period in good condition and within a specified mileage limit. You never own the cars. You are paying for the right to drive it while it is newer and under warranty, and then you give it back. Here is the key insight that explains why lease payments are lower than loan payments. You are not paying for the whole car. You are only paying for the portion of the car's value that gets used up during your lease. Let me make this concrete. Take a car with a sticker price of $35,000. The leasing company estimates that after 3 years, this car will be worth approximately $23,000. That $12,000 difference, the amount the car's value drops during your 3 years, is what you are financing. Your monthly payment is based on recovering that $12,000 plus a finance charge over 36 months. Compare that to a loan, where your monthly payment is based on recovering the entire $35,000 minus whatever you put down, plus interest. The math of why lease payments are lower is simply that the base you are paying off is smaller, because you are giving the car back rather than keeping it. According to Experian's State of the Automotive Finance Market Report for Q1 2026, the average monthly lease payment for a new car is $619, compared to the average monthly loan payment of $770 for a new car purchase. That $151 per month difference, $1,812 per year, is the immediate, tangible appeal of leasing. A lower monthly commitment for a newer, better-equipped vehicle than you might otherwise afford. Let's talk about buying and why it costs more upfront. Buying is more straightforward conceptually, but more expensive in the short term. You borrow the full purchase price, minus any down payment, pay it back over a loan term of typically 36 to 72 months, pay interest on the outstanding balance the whole time, and at the end of the loan, you own the car outright. The ownership is the critical difference. When the loan is paid off, the car belongs to you completely. No more payments. No more restrictions on how far you drive it or what condition you keep it in. It is an asset depreciating, yes, but yours, with a value you can sell, trade in, or simply continue using for free once the loan ends. Using a Toyota Camry with an MSRP of around $35,000 as an example, Bankrate calculated that a standard 36-month lease with a $1,000 down payment runs approximately $538 per month. The same car financed over 36 months with a 20% down payment and a 6.70% APR comes to approximately $861 per month. That is a meaningful monthly gap. But look at what happens when the 36 months ends. The lease driver has no car, no equity, and a choice. Start another lease, buy the car at the residual price, or go get a different vehicle. The buyer has a paid-off Toyota Camry that, after 3 years, is worth approximately $23,000, an asset they own, with zero further monthly obligation. This is the central trade-off of the entire buy versus lease debate: lower monthly payments now or asset ownership later. Here is where the conversation moves from which has a lower monthly payment to which actually costs more money over your lifetime as a driver. And the answer may surprise you. Consumer Report states plainly, If you lease one car after another, monthly payments go on forever. By contrast, the longer you keep a vehicle after the loan is paid off, the more value you get out of it. Over the long term, the cheapest way to drive is to buy a car and keep it until it is no longer economical to repair. Let us model this over 10 years for a person who always needs a vehicle. The perpetual leaser, 2 consecutive 36-month leases at $619 per month average, plus 1 partial year transitioning. Over 10 years, that is approximately $74,280 in total lease payments. At the end of 10 years, no asset, no equity, another lease payment due next month. The buyer who keeps the car, a 60-month loan on a $35,000 car at 7% interest runs approximately $693 per month. Total paid over 60 months, roughly $41,580 plus the down payment. After month 60, the payments stop entirely. For the remaining 5 years of the 10-year window, the driver pays nothing for the vehicle except maintenance. Total vehicle cost over 10 years, approximately $41,580 to $45,000 depending on down payment, versus the leaser's $74,280. The buyer who keeps the car pays significantly less over 10 years and ends with an asset, a 10-year-old vehicle with real resale value, while the leaser ends with nothing and a new payment starting. This math is why financial planners almost universally say, if you plan to drive the same car for more than 5 to 6 years, buying beats leasing financially, almost without exception. The leasing advantage is real in the first 36 months. Over a decade of driving, it disappears and reverses. The lease payment looks clean in the ad. The reality of a lease has several additional cost dimensions that most lessees discover only after they are already in the contract. Mileage overage fees. Most lease agreements cap your annual mileage at 10,000 to 12,000 miles per year. Beyond that limit, you pay an excess mileage penalty of approximately 20 to 30 cents per extra mile, depending on the vehicle. Drive 10,000 miles over the limit during your 3-year lease, and you owe $2,000 to $3,000 at turn-in. The average mileage at lease end in 2025 was 36,954 miles, just 954 miles over the standard 36,000-mile allowance, translating to up to $300 in potential overage fees for the typical driver. Jeep Wrangler lessees averaged 44,740 miles at buyout, 8,740 miles over the standard limit, costing an average of $2,622 in overage fees. Excess wear and tear charges. When you return the leased car, an inspector evaluates its condition against the leasing company's standards. Minor dings, interior stains, worn tires, and a range of other normal use markers can generate charges. These are not predictable in advance and can range from minimal to several $100s depending on how you use the vehicle. Gap insurance. If a leased vehicle is totaled in an accident, standard auto insurance pays the car's current market value, which may be less than what remains on your lease obligation. The gap between those two numbers is your liability unless you carry gap insurance, which adds to your monthly cost. Many lease agreements require it. Early termination fees. If you break your car lease early, you may be on the hook for termination fees that can cost up to the total amount left on the lease. Life changes, relocation, job change, growing family, financial shift, and a lease is significantly less flexible than ownership when life decides to change faster than the lease term allows. Insurance cost differential. Leased vehicles require full coverage insurance because the leasing company owns the asset. Drivers of older, paid-off vehicles can carry less coverage. The insurance premium difference between a newly leased car and a 3-year-old paid-off vehicle can run $50 to $150 per month. Add these costs together: mileage exposure, wear charges, gap insurance, and higher required insurance coverage, and the gap between the lease payment and the loan payment narrows considerably from what the headline monthly numbers suggest. This is the section that keeps the conversation honest, because leasing is not universally wrong. It is the right tool in specific, definable circumstances. For business owners with genuine tax reasons. If you are self-employed or own a business, and use a vehicle primarily for business purposes, lease payments may be deductible as a business expense in a way that loan interest on a purchased vehicle is not. depending on your specific tax situation. This is one of the most legitimate financial reasons to lease, and one of the most worth discussing with a tax professional before signing. For people who genuinely drive low mileage, if your actual driving is well under 10,000 miles per year, working from home, urban living with transit alternatives, short commutes, a lease mileage limit is not a real constraint. You are paying for miles you are not using in any car. At true low-mileage driving patterns, the lease's excess mileage risk is minimal. For people who want the latest safety technology every 3 years, vehicle safety features have improved dramatically in recent years. Automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, improved blind spot monitoring, and a person with genuine safety-based reasons to drive a car with the latest systems may rationally prioritize a lease cycle over long-term ownership of an older, less equipped vehicle. For people trying an EV before committing, if you just want to try out driving an EV before buying one, leasing could be a better choice than purchasing. The EV market is evolving rapidly. Range, charging infrastructure, and model quality are all changing significantly year over year. A 36-month lease on an EV lets you experience the technology with an exit ramp, rather than committing to a vehicle in a category that may look very different in 3 years. These are genuine, specific circumstances where leasing makes sense. If your situation does not match them, the math almost always favors buying and keeping. Here is the recommendation that Consumer Reports, most financial planners, and the data consistently agree on, and that the car industry does not particularly want to be the loudest voice in the room about. Buy a used car 2 to 4 years old and keep it. This approach captures the best of both worlds. Someone else absorbed the brutal first-year depreciation, roughly 20% of the vehicle's value, before you ever entered the picture. The car still has years of reliable life ahead of it. You can typically finance it at a shorter loan term with a lower total balance. And once paid off, you own an asset you can drive payment-free for years. The average used car list price in late 2025 was $25,825, compared to $49,766 for the average new car purchase. That $24,000 difference, if invested at 7% annual return over 10 years, becomes approximately $47,000. The gap between buying new and buying used is not just the sticker price difference. It is the sticker price difference compounded. Consumer Reports is explicit. For savings up front and in the long term, they recommend buying a used car instead of leasing. The counterargument that new cars are more reliable and come with warranties is real but limited. Most modern vehicles, particularly Japanese and Korean brands, are extremely reliable well into their second decade with normal maintenance. The warranty coverage of a new car is valuable for the first 3 years. A used vehicle in year 2 or 3 of its life still has significant warranty remaining and has already demonstrated no early manufacturing defects. Rather than a universal recommendation that ignores personal circumstances, here are 3 questions that will get you to the right answer for your specific situation. Question 1. How long do you typically keep a vehicle? If you keep cars for 5+ years, buying wins decisively. The loan ends and you drive free. If you reliably want a new car every 2 to 3 years regardless of financial logic, the lease can structure that preference more economically than buying and immediately trading in. Question 2. How many miles do you drive annually? Calculate your actual mileage from the past 12 months. If you consistently exceed 15,000 miles per year, leasing will be expensive in mileage penalties or require an upgraded mileage package that narrows the payment gap considerably. If you are genuinely under 10,000 miles per year, the mileage risk of a lease is manageable. Question 3. Is there a legitimate business tax reason? If you are self-employed and use the vehicle substantially for business, talk to your accountant before deciding. The tax math can genuinely favor leasing in the right circumstances, but only with real business use, not as a rationalization for a personal vehicle preference. If the answer to all 3 questions is, I keep cars a long time, I drive a normal amount, and there is no business reason, then buying a 2 to 4-year-old used vehicle and keeping it for 10+ years is statistically and mathematically the best financial outcome available to you. As of Q1 2026, approximately 24% of new vehicles are being leased in the United States. That means roughly 1 in 4 new car transactions is a lease, a meaningful share of the market, driven by the genuine appeal of lower monthly payments and the psychology of always driving something new. The monthly payment is real. The appeal is real. But so is the 10-year math showing that the perpetual leaser pays significantly more over a decade and ends with nothing. So are the mileage penalties, the wear charges, the insurance requirements, and the early termination fees that make leases less flexible than they appear in the advertisement. The cheapest way to drive over a long enough time horizon is to buy a car and keep it until it is no longer economical to repair. This is not exciting advice. It does not make for a compelling car commercial. But it is what the data consistently says when you run the full math rather than just comparing the two monthly payment figures side by side. Buy used. Finance for the shortest term you can comfortably manage. Pay it off. Keep driving. Bank what was the car payment into savings. That is the complete strategy. It is unglamorous, it does not involve new car smell, and it builds significantly more wealth over a lifetime of driving than any alternative available at the dealership. When you're ready to walk into the dealer showroom, now you know what to say. Hope you enjoy this video. Hit like and subscribe. See you in the next one.